Hello and welcome back to Heartmind with Holli. I'm so glad that you have joined me yet again for this podcast, and we're in episode 3 where we're going to start transformation. So every week we have a healing, we have an interview, and we have a transformative segment. And we're going to talk about transforming safety and how we start to look at it from the other side instead of creating safe space, noticing where we can start to challenge ourselves. So do what you need to find yourself a comfortable spot if you can. Maybe you're watching this driving, maybe you're watching it cozied up in bed or on the couch or cooking dinner. I'd be really curious, actually, if you don't mind leaving a comment. Tell me how you're consuming the podcast, where your favorite place is, or where you're able to fit this in your little nooks and crannies of life. And that would be really beneficial as I'm still building what we're doing on the podcast, what kind of practices might serve when you're listening. So I have my cup of tea as always, and I invite you to cozy up to this idea and to this process of transforming safety. So I want to set intention first for protecting ourselves and to create what we need to start challenging ourselves. The intention is to create more sense of safety, and then notice where when we have created safety, it has limited us. And so we're opening up to the transformative currents. That's the intention. The transformative currents that will start to help you live your more authentic self and life. We're going to introduce some concepts which you probably already know or have at least heard of. Maybe you've done some really big practices with them, but now integrating them with this concept of transforming safety. So here are some topics. Witnessing self. We talked about that with Cindy in that interview just yesterday that got dropped. We're going to talk about why that's important and building the witness self. And this helps us build discernment, discerning when and how spaces and places are safe, which is really important with this process, and how external conditioning probably has taught us a way to stay safe that's no longer serving us or will not serve our growth. The very last section of this, I'm going to talk about how this lives in our systems, and particularly the chakra system, the evolution of, building that safe space and healing it, and then going from there to challenging and growing into the new identity, or maybe the more authentic identity. So let's jump right in. What is the witness self? So many people talk about it, and people use different techniques to work with this. So the witness self is taught a lot in yoga, mindfulness, which is derived a lot from Buddhism. I started out with Tibetan Buddhist meditation when I was around 18 years old. And this was huge for my own process of understanding existence and my own existence and starting to build a little bit of space. I still remember the very first time I meditated on my own in my Aunt Karen's house in Grand Rapids, Michigan, when I really fully understood that I was listening to sounds like the mailman stopping in front of the house, or the FedEx truck. Maybe it was like a big truck, mail truck stopping. I could hear the footsteps and dropping a package at her house, and receiving the noise and the vibration of that each little step at a time, and realizing that I had in the past not really listened but just interpreted. Okay, the mailman's here. and go right to interpretation rather than witnessing the sound, witnessing the vibration. And that vibration was never going to happen again. That was a big revelation for me, that yes, the mailman's going to take another stop at another place, but it's going to be a completely different new sound. Even though it's similar, it's different. And realizing that was happening within my own body and life, and throughout the whole world, was just this magnificent expansion of vibration and life and witnessing, experiencing. And I'm sure some of you have had these types of existential, amazing moments in meditation. And what it does is it starts to just connect you with the expansion of life, which starts to connect us with something called Purusha. And it's okay if you don't know or don't want to nerd out on yoga terms, that's okay. But Purusha is basically that witness self. It's that one within us that really is just witnessing every moment in our life and taking in the environment and our experience. When I say environment, that's outside of ourselves, but also within ourselves. The sounds, the moment, the processes, the reactions, and the consequences. It's just observing it all. And we're very, very lucky, very, very blessed that we can actually step into that and we're part of that Purusha. Part of us is that, just simply witnessing. Taking a deep breath for that. And when we can step into that aspect of ourselves, we create a little more space. We create a little more space just for the wonderment and questioning of life. And that creates more possibilities. Because if we already have the answer, if we already know that's just the mailman coming to drop off the package, there's no other opportunities for awakening to the moment and to the universe through this mailman dropping the box, then I've kind of cut off from that opportunity just to be in awe of life. And there might be other different kinds of opportunities if we start to step back, witness, create a little space. That could be for our own emotional process even, which is a big part of the work we do, is creating a witness to our emotional experience, to our human existence. And we talked about that with Cindy quite a bit. This is essential to the healing path, but I think personally, it feels pretty essential to the successful transformation of becoming. And I'm not talking about the material success of gaining riches, even though, making money is a big goal of mine lately, like making a little bit more money from what the service I'm providing in the world. I'm not trying to say that that's not a great endeavor. But there's plenty of people, like Lewis Howes talks about, that are miserable, that have a lot of money. And so they're still longing and needing to develop and to become. That's the misery, is that we're not becoming our authentic self and becoming what we're here to grow, be, and do. And that's the mission, and that's the calling of the human, is to evolve and to contribute and grow into our purpose. So when we are able to develop a witness self, we're able to drop into more questioning rather than answering for a moment. And a lot of people action is really important too, and we're going to get to that a bit. And some people feel like, well, we just need to kind of soldier on, is something I've heard a lot of, soldier on, which is, again, coming back to this analogy of war and being in a battle, which I think is useful at times, but there's also other analogies we could start to use within our own heart minds. I think action is really important, and then there's definitely needed action with yoga to support the evolution. But this is also a key ingredient, to sit and witness and wonder. And taking that time each day to do that. And that's why meditation practice can be so amazing and beautiful, because you're building a witnessing your environment, whether it's listening to the sounds, witnessing to your own experience, your own breath. You're creating capacity to witness. This gives us also more space to discern. So we talked about this as part of the healing process of discerning, is this really a safe space or not? And then having the tools to confidently apply what is needed to any given situation, and starting to inhabit more safe spaces and telling the self, I am safe now, right? So part of this discernment has to come from the questioning. Am I really safe here now? And my teacher, breathwork practitioner, Cindy Albee, who I just again interviewed, please go back and listen to that interview if you haven't already, and this is speaking to you. But that was one of my favorite things she would do, her tactics with me, and I know she used it with other folks as well, is just being that witness and then also that challenger. Are you really unsafe right now? Is that true? We're here in a room, you're on a couch, you have blankets, you have tissues. I'm here to support you in whatever that you need. You are feeling fear and you're feeling the unsafety, but is it here now? Do you feel a predator, or do you feel like there is something here that's going to harm you currently? And typically the answer is no, but it was in the past. So you're feeling unsafe from memories and experiences of the past. Just fair enough, but it's really important to start to build the witness and the discernment. But right now, I am safe. Right now, in this environment, I am safe. And it requires us to build up more of that satya, like truth, expression of truth, and the discernment aspect, the buddhi it's called in yoga, the discernment aspect of knowing safe spaces where unsafe material from the past in your cells can come up. And at first, Cindy or whoever is the witness, that's what they're doing. They're becoming the witness outside of you to help you build the witness inside of you, the witness self, and also that discernment self. And it's where the buddhi kind of lies, right in that sweet spot of being able to witness. The Buddha was someone that moved beyond the buddhi. So moved beyond that need maybe to discern and that sharp discernment, and beyond wisdom, if you can believe it, into enlightenment, into pure being. The discernment is really important when it's connected to this sense of witness self. So I'm going to ask you, you can do this in a journal, you can do this in the comments. I want more comments. Come on, bring them. I promise to respond to them. And whether it's just an encouragement or questioning, something to support, again, your own sense of wonderment in questioning witness self and discernment. But I'm curious what spaces that you have consciously created that allow you to be safe and to own those, and to be very conscious that you've done this and that they are a place where you feel safe. And you're affirming that, confirming that, acknowledging. That's one of the big pillars of this work, acknowledging what you've done and acknowledging the space itself is safe and has held you. So now that might be your home. For me, for example, it's my home. It's this studio that I've created for my podcast. When the girls come in here and try to wreak havoc, I get very protective. This is mama's space. And it's because I have wanted to create a safe space for my work. For me also, it's been a spiritual community, and that's Huff, who I'll be interviewing people from Huff from time to time, and you'll see the Huff Fellowship at times, although I haven't found it here in Arcata, but it's maybe a yoga studio, a yoga room in a studio that feels particularly safe for you. So I'm inviting you for now, rooms or spaces where you feel safe. Even if at times it has brought up pain, that's okay. And in fact, in those places where we feel most safe, often that's when the pain can come up. I once was told a story from the student's perspective. A student went to a workshop around mindfulness and was asked to draw awareness to the hips and inside the hips. And then this person coming out of the session was very angry that they were asked to go to unsafe places in their bodies. And here's the deal. While I'm compassionate with this and understand it, it is our job as practitioners to bring energy back into the body. And we don't want to blame or displace our anger towards someone simply saying you have a body. And if you don't breathe in it, there's going to be dis-ease in your body. And so I challenge you, if you're not ready, don't go there. And that's what this person's body was kind of telling them. But notice the anger. And this is why the witness self and discernment is really important. We've got to be really starting to discern what's ours to work with and what, again, if it is a safe space, simply asking you to bring more consciousness into your body, into certain, whatever that part is in your body, is an invitation. And you're taking responsibility of whether to take that invitation or not, whether to be challenged in that way or not. And that might mean not going there and staying outside on the edges. That might mean going in and feeling the pain. And that's, again, that discernment. And then in the outside, is this space, is this person safe? They're simply asking me, and inviting me to go into my hips. I get to decide whether or not to go in. Giving yourself that autonomy. And facilitators are simply giving you invitation after invitation to grow and to start to transform. So the process with yoga, particularly, I would say, is that we're going to start to bring more energy to our body as we start to feel more safe. And we confirm, okay, this is a safe place outside of the body. Now I'm going to bring more life, prana, into my body. And particularly to do that, you start to feel the lower body. And so you're pulling energy down into the grounding parts of your physical body, the feet, the legs, the buttocks, the hips, the pelvic floor, the genitals and the anus even. You're bringing it down into those lower realms to say, tether here into this physical self. And the healing is when we start to do that, some of those fears and angers and things start to come up. We want that. That's important. That has kept us from grounding. And that's where the material is to work with, to feel, to sense, to understand where your patterning is reacting from and where your patterning is built from. And so you've been walking around, it's called samskaras in yoga, with these patterns based on this ground floor of, I can't really bring my energy down into my body. If you can bring it down really easily and quickly, that's great too. And so we want to practice feeling, knowing this body is safe right now. This body right now is safe, and I'm going to bring conscious energy into my feet, into my toes, into my hips, into my thighs, and tether my life in this moment. That's one of the beautiful aspects of the earth chakra, which is basically exactly in the place that I just talked about, is bringing energy down into those lower places in your physical body, is that it starts to allow us to be grounded, aware, and awake to the present moment. So once we do that, we remove all the blocks to doing that, and we're able to come down and bring our life into our toes, into our feet, into our legs. Oftentimes when people can't do that, they'll have some physical disease or deformation or pain in these regions. So once we start to do that, the body in that particular region starts to become more alive and awake, and over time healed. So that's healing safety. I'm safe now, confirming again and again, grounding again and again, until you feel it and you know it is true, that I am safe here. And then as we start to come up, as we start to come into creating, and as we start to come into feeling into identity, as we start to come up into the center and core of ourselves, after feeling super safe and feeling the energy in our physical bodies, grounded and aware in the moment, to act and create from our center and contribute from our core, we actually have to give up being safe. This is actually a quote coming from Eastern Body, Western Mind by Anno Dea Judith. It's a book that I have in the past used for a 300-hour, but will use going forward when we start to teach yoga therapy with sacred seeds. And it's a deep dives into the psychology of the system, the yoga chakra system. And she says, we have to give up being safe if we're going to really truly find who we're meant to be in this world and find the power of our expression, power behind who we are, and awaken more quickly to this power. We're going to have to challenge ourselves. That's what she's kind of speaking to. And action takes risk and challenge. So we get safe enough to feel able to go into challenges that we know will grow us. And we start to, as we bring more energy into our body, we start to realize that we've been creating ourselves, our identity around being unsafe. Meaning, we've created a home for ourselves that is just able to allow us to cope, and that is like a small fraction of this little corner in this castle, like Cindy was talking about, these, wanting to explore all the chambers and the castles of existence and being in this body. Hauled yourself up into one wing of this castle and decided, okay, this is safe and this is where I'm going to stay, and please don't show me any other wings of this castle, right? But there is a part of you that longs to go, over there, up, or to the side, or to the basement, and just curious what you might find, to go on adventure, just even a small adventure out of that little safe home. And the other part of this is what has created that safe little corridor is oftentimes based on society or, again, outside thoughts, outside parameters, even within the home. Your family maybe has said, okay, this is how you're meant to be, or this is how you keep safe. I would stick with this if you want it to be safe, whether that was school, again, or parents, or certain peers, influences like this. And so you've kind of journeyed and found that way of working, and you've created a little home, and it feels like home, but you reach a point where it's no longer serving you and it's creating problems, right? It's creating problems like feeling isolated, feeling unfulfilled in your job, feeling like, again, you can't ground into your body in this particular corridor, and therefore you can't be present with your family, with your friends. You can't get any contentment and joy from life, potentially, or it's seemingly you can't, because there's a part of you that's needing or wanting to have an adventure of yourself. And in order to do that, you want to ground so deeply into safety, which can be its own adventure, right? Of bringing home energy into your body. That can be its own unsafe adventure right there. And once you feel that first, then you feel you can manage getting on that backpack, feeling at home no matter where you go, and venturing into new territory. And you can do that, and you can challenge yourself because you now have, no matter where you go, a sense of knowing, discernment, witness self, these tools to feel safe in your own body. You know how to ground your energy, and you trust and believe in the witness self. You trust and believe in your discernment, even if you do have someone that you want to bounce that off of from time to time, maybe several people that you want to bounce that off of, but you're building your own internal barometer for that safety. And then you start to trust a little bit when you don't feel completely safe. And that's what she's talking about giving up being safe. You start to trust the challenges, trust feeling uncomfortable, trust feeling the challenge of, going somewhere in the unknown and uncertain. Because there is this sense of trusting in your own self and the process of growing. And then you get to start to be really curious about who you really are and start to create identities you might not have even dreamed of, or maybe you dreamed of but didn't think it could ever be you. Maybe you never thought you could be someone that played the guitar or joined a sports team or wrote a book or started a podcast. And as we start to build power in Manipura in this core center, that's the solar plexus, that's the ribs, that's the gut. Once we start to feel that gut action and calling, we start to explore more of that castle, and we create more action, new action, and we start to create new samskara. This is the person I am. So a new pattern of being, which doesn't discard the home that we've already created. It does start to shift it and expand it. And we start to expand who we are. So you can start small or start big. But I'm going to invite you to even put it in the comments to help support that accountability, foundation of this work. And I promise I'll be commenting back. What is one thing this week that you could give up being safe around? And you don't have to go big, or you could go really big. What's one thing that you could give up being safe around? It might be, for example, I'll share one that I've been working on is watching TV at night. It really gave me comfort. I used to do it with my mom all the time when I was very little. We would watch until we fell asleep. And so it gave me deep comfort to watch TV at night. And I've been giving it up. And in the first few days, even the first night, I could feel the fear of letting that go, feel the uncomfortableness. What I ended up doing to help was I literally started singing a lullaby to myself. And I could tell through my nervous system, I was kind of rocking myself. So you might find other ways to comfort you as you start to challenge yourself in this way. And I would go to bed and I would either read or meditate instead and be really curious about the vibration and sensation of tamas, or growing heavier, and sleep, which scared me, right? It's scary. And I know so many of us really struggle with this nighttime routine. But I know in my heart, I've been feeling, and this has been going on for a little while, where I've been changing this pattern, but I knew it was connected to my growth and how I needed to grow and become the person that I'm meant to be and want to be, to start to open a hallway, open a window, open, to the new Holli. And so I'm just going to invite you, one small thing or one big thing this week that you're willing to give up. And try feeling unsafe in your safe spaces. So for me, I had grounded into this home. I do feel very safe in this home. My relationship with my partner was starting to feel more and more safe. And that gave me the opportunity to challenge this nighttime routine. For you, it might be a morning routine. It might be something else. It might be something around your own practice, around your work. Please put it in here. Let's see all the variations. And I will respond and cheerlead you on and support you. So that's the segment here. Let's all take a nice big breath if you can, even if you're driving. Wherever you're at, maybe take a sweet big breath. And this is an invitation from healing and grounding into the body to rise up into Manipura and give up being safe for a little while to become fully yourself. I hope it supports you on this journey, and so much mad respect for you, for this work, for your own healing. Travel well, enjoy your yoga. I'll see you next time.